Hey everyone, Austin here again with another Let's Play video. Today is going to be Street Fighter Alpha 2 for the Super Nintendo. Now this is actually a pretty cool conversion of the arcade game of Street Fighter Alpha 2. It's not something that people expected to get on the Super Nintendo back in the day. Street Fighter Alpha 2 came out in 1996. Just later that year on Super Nintendo it was ported along with the PlayStation and Saturn. We got a lot of ports of Street Fighter 2, but like I said, Alpha 2 is actually one of the last things we would have expected on the Super Nintendo back in the day. It obviously looks like a major downgrade from the arcade game, but it's still a very respectable port, all things considered. It's utilizing a special chip inside the system to sort of just make things happen, and all things considered, it still looks great, especially, played through RGB today, through upscalers. I think I actually really appreciate how the game looks more now than it did when it first came out. I wasn't too impressed with this when it first came out. I had a friend that owned it. There's a couple of small things about this game that just sort of like bugged me, like the load times right before matches start and things like that. But playing it today, as I'm recording this video, it's nice, actually. It's really fun playing it on Super Nintendo. It plays well. It looks great for a Super Nintendo game. And, those couple of minor quirks aside, I can get over now. It really holds up pretty well. And it's definitely a solid little way to play this game. So, now I'm by no means a Street Fighter Alpha expert at all. It's a series that I sort of skipped over when it was new, except for the Super Nintendo version of Alpha 2, and even then I didn't play it all that much. And then even when I was getting into competitive fighting games in the early 2000s, still didn't really play much of the Alpha series. A friend of mine and I, we tried getting into the Alpha 3 towards the end of our competitive fighting game stint, but that probably only lasted like a month or so. So unfortunately with this Let's Play, we're just going to be playing straight through the game, sort of like normally. I'm going to be playing it a lot like Street Fighter 2 in a way. We're just going to go through these first 8 guys, just try to beat the game, and then that's going to be the Let's Play. Street Fighter Alpha 2 and Alpha 1, they introduce some new things you can do that you can't do in the old Street Fighter 2 series. However, I don't really know how to do them. Like, there's alpha counters, and apparently there's like custom combos for certain characters and things like that. So unfortunately, I can't really explain any of that. But for any of you guys out there that are really, really familiar with this franchise, feel free to post in the comments on how I should be doing some of these things. So we're going to be playing with Akuma on the way through the game, and we're just going to, plow through these characters. But yeah, I'm by no means an Alpha 2 expert, but fortunately, what I kind of have always liked about the Alpha series is that it seemed like, at least in terms of playing against the CPU on the default difficulty levels, you don't really need to know like the super advanced techniques. You can get away with just doing some pretty basic combos, like with Ryu, Ken, and Akuma. You can always just do the old medium kick into like Fireball, which usually connects if you actually connect with the medium kick. Akuma's also got this awesome attack, if I can pull it off, and I forgot the name of it, but it's very difficult to do. There it is. Bam. And you activate this when you have a full super meter. You do low punch twice, so you go punch, punch, forward, low kick, high punch. And you have to do it really quickly in order to pull it off. It'll take away, I think at least half of your opponent's health bar, maybe more like 3/4 of it. It's an insanely powerful move. Like I said, it uses all 3 levels of your super meter. And if you knock an opponent down, you can do that move. And if you time it right, it's pretty much inescapable, or at least it makes, the way you can run into the computer AI with it makes it seem like it's unescapable. I've yet to do it against a actual human on this version of the game. But it's one of the tricks I use to get through this game a little bit quicker. Unfortunately, I'm playing on an actual Super Nintendo controller, so normally this is the kind of game like I'd want to use an arcade stick for, but I don't have one on Super Nintendo, unfortunately. So And trust me when I say it's a lot easier on an arcade stick. We actually, my friend and I, back in the day when we were doing the competitive fighting game stuff, we were actually playing a lot of Capcom vs. SNK 2, and Akuma was one of my main characters in that game, and I think it was actually, was it Raging Demon? Was that the name of the move? I forgot what it, I totally forgot. It's been so long since I've really been into the fighting games. But we would do that move in Capcom vs. SNK 2 as well. It is very, very good. So one thing I like about Akuma, and one reason I actually use Akuma more than, you know, like Ryu or Ken. Ken in particular was always like my main character, aside from Guile in Street Fighter 2. But with Akuma, you can do these air fireballs, which is really nice. So you can just really put the pressure on your opponents. And let's see if we can do this again. There we go. Got it. So, very tricky to do, particularly on the Super Nintendo controller, because on default settings, your fierce attacks, your fierce punch and fierce kick, are L and R, respectively. And then your low kicks are B and A. Your high punches, or sorry, not your, sorry. Your punches are Y and X, your kicks are B and A, and then L is high punch, fierce punch, and R is fierce kick. And so when you have to basically press YY, forward, B, L, and it's just it's confusing, and it's disorienting in a way. It takes a little while to get used to doing that special or that super move that Akuma has. So now you do have other supers, just like you do in, say, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, which I'm not sure if a lot of you guys are familiar with that one, because we never got a home version of Super Turbo on like the Super Nintendo or the Sega Genesis or anything like that. So some of you guys may have actually missed Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I know a lot of kids I knew played, say, Super Street Fighter 2 on the Genesis and Super Nintendo, but since those consoles never got the Turbo version of that, which introduced the Super Meter, and that's where that Super Meter originated. A lot of people, I don't even know where I was going with that. Holy crap. Yeah, my mind just like took a blank completely. That's okay. I just woke up. So it probably wasn't the best idea to do this recording, but I was like, you know, I'm about to go to work. I think I can pound out this Let's Play and get back on schedule. There we go. And sometimes that's not the best idea when I wake up and I just go straight into recording the Let's Play, because my mind, like the gears haven't started turning yet. And that's definitely the case for today. Yeah, so you do have more than one, you know, super ability or you know, one super move you can do with your special meter. Your special meter also has 3 levels for varying different strengths of your super that you can pull off. And for Akuma, let me experiment with it. I believe he's got one for his uppercuts, his you know, his dragon. I don't think they call them dragon punches for Akuma. That right there, but that would be the dragon punch with Ken. So we can do that by doing quarter circle forward and a punch twice, and it uses up 1 level of your super meter. And to raise your super meter, you basically can just attack enemies. You also gain super meter quickly just by doing special moves. So one strategy people will do is just to constantly do moves, even when your character's knocked down. See, bam, now we've got a level 3 super we can do. And I'm trying to figure out what the other one is. I thought it was a quarter circle back twice and then a kick, but apparently not. So maybe Akuma only has 2, and the Raging Demon is one of his 2. But if you do quarter circle forward twice, and then a punch, he basically does the Dragon Punch super, which is really powerful. So, much like when you're trying to combo into special attacks. You can also try to combo into super attacks as well. So let's see if we can maybe pull one off. Bam, just like that. And you can do a whole bunch of damage. Timing is a little strict though on it. But if you can do it, it's just definitely a nice way to dish out some damage to your opponent really quickly. All right, so we're actually about halfway through the single player game. It's a pretty basic setup. You go through 8 characters and you'd fight a boss at the end. I believe the boss for Akuma is Gen. Or Gen. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. Oh, that's right. There's Strider in the background. Totally forgot. On this level, they display some characters from other Capcom games, which is pretty funny. So yeah, there's good old Strider in the background. See, what I should have done there is when Ken was dizzy, I should have done something like a jump kick and then put that into a super like that. And then he probably actually would have been dead, but I wasn't really thinking. It's okay. Like I said, I'm not aiming for perfection. I don't even know how to do some of the more advanced stuff in this game, like the alpha counters. I actually played this on Twitch a couple of weeks ago, and I did an alpha counter completely by accident. It's almost like the way the alpha counters happens based on... And correct me if I'm wrong, it seems the end result is very similar to, say, the parrying system from Street Fighter 3, the Street Fighter 3 series. No, not able to pull off. I'm not too worried about it. But basically, the alpha counter, and like I said again, correct me if I'm wrong, it looks like you basically parry an attack, and it gives you a few frames to just get like a free hit on your enemy, or pull off, you know, a free combo, basically, or a super, or something like that. So basically, like, you'll parry their attack, and they'll just be left frozen for a moment, and then you can just do whatever you want. And I think that's what the alpha counter system is. Again, I'm not 100% sure, but when I accidentally did it, that's the vibe I got. But you don't do it the same way as you do Third Strike parrying, or not just Third Strike, but Street Fighter 3 parrying. And what is this? Here comes a new challenger. This is interesting. This didn't happen to me last time. I may have gotten a game over, but this also might be something that just happens relatively randomly. I guess you duel Ryu. Yeah, so I was actually reading up a little bit right before doing this Let's Play, just to refamiliarize myself with some of the other things you can do in the game. And apparently there's like the custom combo system. With certain characters you can apparently press, or maybe it's every character, you press like punch and kick together, or something like that, and you can just incorporate... you can just basically come up with your own combos. I guess the game sort of like takes off like the I guess I don't know how I would explain it. It's kind of like if you play Street Fighter Alpha 3, there's a form you can select called the V-ism, which basically allows you to press punch and kick together, and it almost seems like it just removes whatever frame delays there are after you do a move. So if you do like a fierce kick, you know, it's you know, there's a lot of frames you have to wait before it'll let you do another move again. It seems to like just remove that, and so you can just do a lot of different attacks in a row that you probably shouldn't be able to do to come up with your own combos for a short period of time. And apparently that's in Street Fighter Alpha 2. I don't know if you can only use it for like with certain characters. I just tried it with Akuma and it wasn't working, so I'm not really sure how that goes. But I found that to be kind of interesting because I didn't know that was actually in Alpha 2. I thought that that was something that was created with Street Fighter Alpha 3's Vism mode. And the Vism mode is basically, it's just like your special meter change on the bottom of the screen. So what's really cool about Alpha 3 in particular, and I actually look forward to doing a Let's Play on that sometime soon. I do have the PS1 version of that, as well as access, thanks to the Pseudo Saturn, I have access to the Sega Saturn one now. So you guys might see some Let's Plays of that, maybe even a dual play where you see both the Saturn and PS1s played side by side. But Street Fighter Alpha 3 introduces two new special meter types. So you've got the, I guess, was it the S-ism or A-ism? No, A-ism. No, maybe it was the A-ism. Yeah, I think that's what it was. And I think that, yeah, A, like Alpha-ism, that replicated like this super meter from this game and the first Street Fighter Alpha, where it was just more like, you know, traditional Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo super meter, except now you've got 3 levels of your super meter instead of just 1. And then you had Vism, which was that custom combo thing I was talking about. And then you had, was it Y-ism? A-ism? I don't even remember the letters in Alpha 3. It just gets confusing to me. Unless I'm looking right at it, which I'm not. And that was where you basically just had one long super meter, but your super attack that would come out would be insanely powerful. So yeah, we might try to do that sometime soon. It's actually been a little while since I've done some fighting games on this channel, and it's good to try to do some more again. I might try to space out the fighting games, though, since I'm only doing Let's Play uploads once a week now. It might be like a couple months before I do another fighting game, or not. You know, maybe it'll be sooner than that. We'll see. But I do definitely want to do Street Fighter Alpha 3 as a Let's Play. I find that playing against the AI is actually a lot more challenging in Alpha 3 on the default difficulty levels. Now, I'm sure this can get really, really hard. But on Alpha 3, it's definitely a good bit more challenging. So there's actually a combo you can sometimes do with Akuma in the corner. If you do his hurricane kick, sometimes you can land before the enemy lands, and you can do an uppercut as well, including your uppercut super. So there's some neat little combos you can do in this game. It's one of the things I liked about the Alpha games. Alpha 3 in particular, back when I played it for a very short period of time competitively. And if you've never played Capcom vs. SNK 2, I do recommend giving that a try. It definitely has an Alpha-like feel to it, especially with how some of the combos are implemented and whatnot. And I actually didn't mean to do that, but basically that overhead, sort of like smack attack Akuma just did, will actually hit the opponent if they're ducking and trying to block. There's what's called some overhead attacks in the game, or standing overheads, where it's hard to tell if it's coming from, if it's hitting high or if it's actually hitting like medium or low. And so it looks like Bison there either just didn't block or he was trying to block low, and so it registered as a medium hit. Alright, so this is going to be our last fight. So there is a little bit of story in the game, if that's the sort of thing you care about. I really like the graphics on this level in particular. If you look in the water on the floor, it's like you know, rippling and stuff like that. It's really cool. And then the lighting on the far left-hand side of the screen is really cool too. How it's just constantly changing colors. I like that. It's just you don't see effects like that too much throughout the course of this game. It's definitely, you know, like I said, it's a nice looking game for the Super Nintendo. It's the sort of thing where it's like, we probably shouldn't have even gotten this on the Super Nintendo, but we did, and it looks pretty awesome by Super Nintendo standards. Unfortunately, it is one of those games where it doesn't really take up like the full vertical resolution. So it is like letterboxed in a way. You could sort of just, you know, look at it as that. But aside from that, it's really respectable. I mean, especially like when you compare it to the arcade version of the game, you're just like, wow, this is being done on hardware that it probably shouldn't have been able to be done on. It's really nice. So we'll do a super move for the end. And that's pretty much it. I don't think there's anything else to the game unless we get another secret boss of some kind, but I'm going to doubt it. The last time I played through this with Akuma, Jen was the last character that we had, so... And that's it. That's Street Fighter Alpha 2 for the Super Nintendo. Now, you know, it is the kind of game, if you want to see what the story is like, you can try to finish it with every character and so forth. I don't really think there's anything else to the game. I think there's only like one secret character in the game, and then supposedly one more, which I believe is Shin Akuma, you can actually unlock by using like a Game Genie or Action Replay or something like that. Maybe a Game Genie doesn't work, but I know that I've read online that the Action Replay will do it. So yeah, the game doesn't really have a whole lot in terms of single-player content. Most of these Street Fighter games did not. Back in the day, it wasn't really until, I'm guessing Alpha 3. But then again, Street Fighter Alpha 2 Gold on Saturn... Maybe that had some extra stuff, I'm not sure. But I know Alpha 3, it was just chock full of single-player content. That was actually one of the reasons why that game was so well received back when it came out on consoles, on the PS1, Saturn, and Dreamcast. But Alpha 2 and Super Nintendo doesn't have that, so it's definitely the kind of game you're going to want to have, you know, to play with some friends or something like that. Unless you're like me, I do like going through the single-player game every now and then. I do actually bust this out pretty frequently on Twitch as well when I stream over there. Because it doesn't take that long to get through. You know, we're about 23 minutes in right now, and you know, I can finish the game relatively quickly. It's not a super challenge on the default difficulty mode. Granted, you can turn the default difficulty up from its default position. You can turn the difficulty up higher from its default position. So it probably is really, really challenging on the highest star level. So that's also something you could try to do as well. Also, it's just the kind of game that's nice to have, because for one, you can't play it on flash carts right now. At least it doesn't work on mine, because it doesn't have that special chip built in. It's definitely a nice game to show off the capabilities of your system. You know, the capabilities of the Super Nintendo, and to show your friends, like, check out what the SNES did back in the day that you probably haven't seen before. It's definitely an impressive looking game on the system. I kind of wish more Super Nintendo games utilize like these specialized chips in order to get more impressive looking visuals than the base system was even really capable of doing. And this was actually quite a late release on the Super Nintendo though, so it's understandable that they didn't. You know, this was 1996. I mean, a lot of Super Nintendo games, even in like 1995, are kind of uncommon. Or didn't do that well in the market when they came out, because people were starting to already you know, look towards the next generation of gaming. In 1996 in particular, I mean, the PlayStation was really starting to kick off by that point. So it's really surprising we even got this to begin with on Super Nintendo, and it's really amazing that we did. I'm glad we did. It's really cool. I don't think the game's too expensive either. I'm actually using a physical cartridge, you know, like I said, since it won't play in the flash carts. And it was actually sort of like a donor / purchase on Twitch. It was actually offered up to me for like the cost of shipping, but I think I ended up giving the guy like 10 or 15 bucks for the cart, you know, just as a thank you. And I was looking on places like eBay, and I think they're still, especially the Japanese version, I think they're only like 10 or 15 bucks anyway for a physical copy of this. The US version might be a little bit more expensive, you know, maybe more towards the $20 range. But it's definitely a worthy purchase, I think, if you're a fan of these Capcom fighting games and the Street Fighter series in general. So, but all right, guys, that's pretty much it. I'm just gonna wrap up this video here. I want to say thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll probably be back with a follow-up to my Doom 2016 Let's Play series next weekend. So, if you've been following that, stay tuned for that. If you haven't, maybe you should check it out. It's been a really fun Let's Play series, and we're getting close to wrapping it up finally. So once I get that wrapped up, it should be retro stuff every week, unless somebody talks me into playing Dark Souls, which probably isn't going to happen anytime soon. But yeah, then we should be back to more 100% retro style stuff on these for these Sunday uploads. But again, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments or feedback, or just want to say hello, feel free to post a comment below. And until the next video, take it easy.